YouTube is being really hard on this particular type of content, so I'm going to go ahead and fuzz out anything that might be labeled as graphic. If you want the full video that's not censored or fuzzed out, you can click on the first link in the description of this video and I will send you by email an uncensored version. For those who might be a little more squeamish at the topic, this video actually might be ideal here, as I'm going to explain the whole process without giving you the full eyeful that you might get in the uncensored version below. Butchering a sheep with only paracord and a knife. If you're in for it, I'm going to walk you through the whole process in this video. It's my first time doing it, but I ended up doing about 4 or 5 lambs before the winter was out, and I'm really surprised at how much my time per animal went down and how quickly it did. I'm going to get to that at the end of this video. First, for a little bit of context here. This particular occasion was unplanned, and so my supply situation was a little bit limited. I had an 8-inch boning knife and some paracord and a tree limb. By the way, I would love if you would leave in the comment section below if you have butchered out or broken down an animal. Leave reference to any techniques, tools, or resources, whether videos, etc. As for me personally, this book, Butchering by Adam Danforth, has been worth its weight in gold, and in my opinion is something that every single solitary homesteader should have on their shelf. Buy it at shepherdess.com and it will support my work tremendously when you do. I also binge watched a ton of the Bearded Butcher channel and actually used their 6-inch boning knife for this lamb and all of the sheep that I did last winter. The lamb died unexpectedly due to bloat. She ate between 10 and 20 pounds of barley in one afternoon. I did try some rescue remedies for the bloat, but honestly I just caught on to it a little bit late. I had known for a while that I wanted to process a lamb, but the kill portion of the process really kind of scared me. I knew that this particular opportunity, where I basically had the chance to know how it died and what it died of, was going to be as close as I could possibly get to a fresh kill. And it really allowed me to follow through with that butchering process just minutes after the animal had died. As I mentioned, paracord and a knife were my 2 primary instruments for cleaning and gutting this animal, but I did have a 5-gallon bucket of water on hand, as well as a shallow rectangular tub, and I lined that tub with a junk hay, and this was what I used to catch everything that came out of the sheep, basically. I could have let all of this fall on pasture, but I wanted to keep it really well contained and be really specific as to where I disposed of this waste in order to avoid attracting predators to portions of the pasture where other sheep were. So this sheep was already dead, but I made the exact same kind of cut that I would have to if it were alive. And this really helped me for the sheep that I did end up butchering in the remains of the winter who were alive, and I had to make this cut. It was good practice. Highly recommend that book, Butchering by Adam Danforth, available at shepherdess.com. It's going to give you photos and step-by-step on exactly how to execute this process in a way to where the animal just really barely sees or feels it coming. At this point, I pulled back enough skin on the legs to loop the paracord through the gambrel cords on the hind legs of the animal, and then I hoisted the sheep up by its back legs. I initially tried to hoist the carcass up myself, just using my body weight, but the resistance on the cord, because of the tree limb and the fact that this lamb was actually pretty big, made it not possible for me. So I did cheat and used the UTV that we have to hoist it up on the tree limb. At that point, it was time for the skinning portion of this breakdown. I took my time in cutting around the rectum and properly sealed that off with a zip tie. I also took my time to cut around and free up the skin around the tail. Now that was the most time-consuming part, and once that was done, the skinning process went really quickly. I cut a seam from leg to leg as if I was following the inseam and crotch line on a pair of pant legs. So once that crotch cut was made, the remainder of the skinning process was really like peeling off a glove. I was so surprised at how easy and really how clean that process was. There was no blood, and the hand that was between the hide and the flesh stayed really clean. Now keep in mind here that once an animal dies, its abdomen does begin to swell. There is science as to why, and you'll probably read about it in that butchering book that I referenced earlier, but the bottom line is that hide is going to become more and more difficult to peel off in this particular fashion without making a seam down the center of the belly the longer you go. And for a couple of reasons, I just did not want to make that seam down the center of the belly. So I kind of had to wrestle with this particular carcass, but I took my time on this, and it really did take some muscling to get everything off. Like I said, I did about 3 more sheep after this particular one, and it was a lot faster, but this particular part Took me some time just kind of as I got used to doing what I was doing there. From there, once all of the hide was off, I just made a simple incision down the belly and the internal organs mostly fell out of their own accord. Now, the first time that I went through this particular butchering process, it took me 4 hours from my first cut to the complete removal of the hide and internal organs. Now, number one, it was my first time. And number two, I deliberately took a lot of time to really educate myself on what I was seeing and how it juxtaposed to what I had really seen on paper. So it was sort of, in short, a 4-hour anatomy class on a sheep carcass, and it was well worth the extra time to take it slow. Now, by my third sheep last winter, I was able to go from kill to carcass in 1 hour and 20 minutes, which I was super pleased with that rapid reduction in that time period. Did I enjoy this process? I can say very truthfully that I feel an incredible amount of confidence in the fact that I can take an animal from the pasture and put it on a plate. The complete supply chain is here, and so I do feel the gratitude for that. But I also feel an incredible amount of gratitude for my local butcher. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up before you leave, guys. Comment down below with at least where you're watching from. I always love to read your comments. And watch this video next, which is a full explanation as to why I chose Dorper Sheep and not St. Croix for my farm.
Killed it?
Yeah, it's really tender.
I'm pretty stoked about it.